Greetings to one and all. I am CA Shreya Gupta, Assistant Professor at Faculty of Commerce, Parul University. It gives me immense warmth and great pleasure to welcome all of you to the second part of the webinar on mindful learning. It gives me tremendous contentment to be presenting the welcome speech amongst the most esteemed personalities who have won accolades in their respective fields, Dr. Assisi Menacheri and Dr. Giselle George. Before we begin this webinar, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the viewers for joining hands with us to make this webinar a successful one. Webinars are organized and conducted by Parul University to the general audience to gain insight and information that would remain effective in their life,
Presenting the
society,
welcome
and
speech
work.
amongst the most esteemed
Each topic
personalities.
for discussion each topic for discussion for today's webinar was chosen keeping in mind the interest of the youth. Part 1 of this webinar was graced with positive feedbacks from students and other migrants. I ensure the second part of the webinar will be profitable and fruitful for everyone present here. Before I invite our speaker to address all of you, let's have a quick recap of part 1 of the webinar. The first session commenced with a video to kindle interest on mindfulness. We discussed about the basic concepts of mindfulness and concluded that mindfulness means to be conscious and to be aware. Consciousness and awareness are the two words often used interchangeably about mindfulness. We discussed about the transactional levels of learning, briefed about the cycle of aptitude or competence, interest, opportunity, livelihood. We also gave a skill building session using a psychometric inventory. Further, we discussed about the existential or absolute levels of learning. Moreover, we gave a skill transfer session to experience what is existence by asking questions related to present, past, and future. We discussed about 5 C's of scarcity mentality and how human beings are conditioned to demonstrate scarcity mentality and about its relationship with learning. The 5 C's are following: competition, complaint, criticism, comparison, and contention. Further, we gave an introductory note on SQ3R and suggested to do as an exercise. SQ3R stands for survey, question, read, recite, and recall. I now request Dr. Giselle George, ma'am, to take the charge of the session.
Thank you, Shreya ma'am, and good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, all. Well, Madam Shreya has given a recap about last day's session about mindful learning. Now, let me ask you, how many of you have done the assignment that was given in the last session? Can you put your names in the comment box? I'll give you a few seconds. Could you please write your names in the comment box, those who have done the assignment given in the last session? Well, Madam Shreya has given a recap about the last day's session about mindful learning. Now, let me ask you, how many of you have done the assignment that was given in the last session? Can you put your names in the comment box? Well, I can see only a few names. That's fine. I may tell you, this is the challenge, one of the challenge faced by the faculties or even teachers and also the learners too. Let me start this session by explaining about experiential learning. To learn a skill or competence, we need to practice it. Unless and until one keeps doing again and again, he cannot master a skill. Let us look at a toddler. How does he start walking? It is not in a day or two he starts walking. The baby first tries to stand with the help of a support. Then he stands after getting enough confidence. He begins to stand by himself without any support. Then he starts to take a step. This may be with the help of his mother by holding his hand or somebody else's. Once he is confident, he tries to take few more steps without his mother's help. All of you pretty well know that at each and every step he takes, the baby might have fallen down, or he may have got some aches or wounds. But he is determined. He wants to walk. He try for n number of times, and at last he wins. He starts to walk by himself without any support. Thus, the baby masters the skill of walking. The baby has transferred into a new human being with a new learned skill called walking. He has got transformed into a new human being. So the point here I want to emphasize is that it is practice that matters in skill building. It is practice that makes you a new human being through an experience. Well, if someone wants to be competent in doing problems of accounting or in mathematics, or someone wants to be a sprint runner, or like Usain Bolt or Carl Lewis, or someone wants to be a master in cooking, he has no doubt to practice and practice and practice endless number of times, thus mastering a new skill through experience. Experience or practice transform individuals. Once the experience has happened, he becomes a new human being. Now, take the case of a boy and a girl. The moment they get married, they start of being a bachelor. The status of being a bachelor comes to an end. Now they are married individuals. Once they went through the experience of marriage, they are no longer a bachelor. The experience marriage has transformed them into new individuals called married couple. There is no going back into their past, or they are not going into their previous status called bachelor, or even they cannot undo marriage. Only they can divorce and get separated, but even then they cannot become a bachelor. There can be only a divorcee who once went through the experience of marriage. Thus, experience brings about an absolute transformation in individuals, where there is no going back, and the theoretical whereas the theoretical knowledge won't bring a transformation in individuals. Hence, don't forget to practice so as to become a transformed new individual. Let me give few more instances. After learning how to ride a horse or how to swim, an individual has transformed into a new one who now knows how to ride a horse or how to swim. Thus, an experience or a practice or doing an action transforms or renews an individual. The transformation or renewal cannot happen with cognitive learning, and that is why we say that experiential learning is absolute. And mind you, this experiential learning is permanent as well as absolute. Now let me give you an insight about SQ3R learning. I doubt some of you might be practicing it without actually knowing that they are following a scientific method of learning. It is a cognitive learning method consisting of 5 stages of process or steps. Here S means survey, Q means question, and there are 3 R's. The first R is read, then the second R represents recite or retrieve, and the final R represents review. And it was introduced by Francis P. Robinson, an American educational philosopher. This method tries to convert comprehensive cognitive learning to activity oriented learning, and it introduces 5 stages for learning to limit passive learning. This method of learning promotes active learning through activities. The first step in this method of learning is to survey or to skim. See, every learner has a tendency just to read the material he has given to learn, which means the learner is involved in passive learning only. The learner should resist this temptation or this tendency to read the paragraph or chapter. Instead, he must go through and note down the major themes and sub-themes and information in the form of tables, graphs, or figures. This will provide the learner with an outline or framework of what is to be learned. Also, the learner identify ideas and formulate questions about the content. Let us try to skim and survey the following paragraph, the one you see in the slide now. The paragraph reads as follows. To be mindful means to be aware and to be conscious. The word awareness and consciousness are used interchangeably to explain about mindfulness. Mindfulness, which is happening at the psychological level, includes knowing one's own interests and learner's likes towards what is being learned, whether learner love or like the subject. It's like how far one love and like the subject that he or she learn. If he or she likes or love, what is the reason, and so on. Further, mindfulness at the psychological level is whether learner is competent enough to learn the subject and whether do he or she have the aptitude. It's like what's the rigor of the course, what's the IQ requirement to learn the course, does the learner have any basic background knowledge about the subjects, and so on. Next comes which program the learner wants to study and what are its opportunities, and whether the job or the program offer after its completion has got any challenges or is there any associated occupational health and safety hazards. By opportunities we mean whether the learning provides the learner adequate job opportunities so that he can earn his livelihood. We will learn later in this program that object of learning is appropriate functioning, as advocated by Dr. Alport, a famous American psychologist, that whether the learner can express himself or herself in a unique way to the fullest. Finally, whether the learner is aware one has to meet with any challenges while expressing oneself. There are many types of challenges such as ethical challenges, confusion, anxiety, inability to unlearn, challenges while working with a team, and so on. So after reading this paragraph and doing survey, the learner might note down the following themes and sub-themes, and I have done it for you. So this is the first step in surveying. Write down or note down the themes, the main themes and sub-themes, or main headings or subheadings. For the previous slide, we have read now the paragraph. The themes are like this. The first theme happens to be mindfulness. And the second theme is meaning of mindfulness at the psychological level. And it has got the sub-themes as interest and learner's love and liking to learn, aptitude and competence to learn, opportunities after learning, possibilities about livelihood or job. Then comes the third theme, that is object of learning. And under that, the sub-theme happens to be appropriate functioning, that is expressing oneself in a unique way to the fullest. Then the fourth theme, that is the challenges while expressing oneself. And the sub-theme happens to be the ethical challenges, confusion, anxiety, inability to unlearn, etc. Now, the next step, that is question. Based on the previous step, that is survey, the learner now has to generate questions. Here, the learner can convert the themes and sub-themes or the headings or subheadings into questions. He can find the answers to these questions from the content itself, thus engaging the learner in active learning. The learner may also go for other general questions such as, what is this paragraph or chapter about? What question is this chapter trying to answer? How does this information help me? Then the learner may also write questions or generate questions based on the paragraph. That is, what is mindfulness? What is mindfulness at the psychological level? What is appropriate functioning? What are the few challenges while expressing oneself? What are the 5 perspectives of mindfulness at psychological levels? What is this paragraph of chapter trying to say about? Likewise. Now, coming to the third step, it is read as, or it represents the step read. You might be remembering our first step, that is survey. There, the learner was surveying the given content in a passive mode only. But in this step, that is read, the learner starts to read the content actively by keeping in mind the work done in the steps, survey and question. While engaging in active learning, the learner is trying to get answers to the questions which he has generated in the previous step. Now, the second R, it refers to or it represents retrieve or recite. The learner here retrieves or recite from his memory in a manner how he would teach another person or how he would try to make another person understand about the information which he has learned in his own words. The learner here tries to recall from his memory. So the listeners may please try to recall and identify major points or themes or sub-themes and answers to questions from the step we have just finished, that is Q. Now let me bring to your attention about an interesting curve or interesting graph called the forgetting curve. It tells about the amount of time you will be able to remember what you have learned, or it shows in how much time will an information that you have learned will be forgotten. For a learner who has learned about an information for the first time, he will forget the entire thing just within 3 days, or he can memorize the learned information only for 3 days. After that, he may forget. But if he reviews it once, it will remain in his memory for a week. After a week's time, the learner may forget about what he has learned. If the learner repeatedly reviews, there is every chance that the learned information getting transferred into his long-term memory from his short-term memory, and he will be in a position to better recall it at any time. What if we add another retrieval prompt? So why don't we review? Thus, our final R is review. Once a learner reaches the end of the passage, review the material by repeating back to oneself in his own words. You may then repeat the process of reviewing and add the same process is repeated, enabling the learner to transform the information he has learned from short-term memory to long-term memory. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Assisi Manachiri.
Hello. Hope. Hi. So nice to meet all of you again. Hope all are staying safe. Professor Shreya, I hope you can hear me well, right? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we'll continue where Dr. Giselle has stopped in one of her previous slide, that is existential or experiential learning. Now, if you observe the way we take forward this particular training program is, well, we started with transactional levels of learning where there is a give and take. Then we forwarded it into existential or experiential learning, and our thrust was on to provide a skill building session, and we have already completed 3 skills. Now, during a period of past 40 minutes, we have transferred a skill. First, the skill was to know thyself about our own interest and authenticity to learn by using a questionnaire or inventory. The second skill was to realize what is existence in the now, here and now. And third one was specifically focusing on the age group of 8th standard to a master level or even up to the level of PhD, where SQ3R learning is very much important, where whenever we learn using those activity-based stages when being applied in cognitive learning, you forget the time, you don't get bored. Usually an individual has got 21 minutes attention span once you learn theory, and after reading that, we may get bored. But when we do this as SQ3R, then we do it as an activity, as an experience the learning process go through, where the passive learning transforms to active learning. So this is where we are now. Now let's march ahead towards existential or experiential learning. Dr. Giselle has very clearly mentioned, okay, when being asked to do a homework or an assignment last time, only very less number of students has responded in the chat box that they have did it. What happens? A teacher or a professor or a trainer can only transform the knowledge at the cognitive level, and he or she might have to carry you at the behavioral level to practice it. Perhaps if you are with me, or if it is an on-the-job training, or if you are with me and I am a trainer who teaches or who trains you in your gym, then you can be with me and I will take you forward. Otherwise, the responsibility to practice lies with the learner. Mind you, unless you practice or experience it, transformation won't happen. Transformation happens only with experiencing and practicing. Please understand that. So if it is an accounting problem, many of you want to be chartered accountants. You want to, there is a P&L account and a balance sheet. You want to, do that practice. Or if you are if you are doing a max problem, you want to do practice it. Unless you practice, you cannot transform to a new individual. Take any game, any sport, chess, shooting, yoga. Unless you play chess continuously, do it. Unless you, do shooting, unless you do practice yoga, the transformation never happens. This is the key of transformational or experiential learning. Transformation happens only by doing that particular action. And we all individuals, we only can be renewed. So we are focusing in area of renewal stages of learning. Only we can renew once we practice it. So I cannot practice it for you. I can only practice it for me. Please understand that. and practice maketh the man perfect. Hence, experiential learning exists with you once you own it. My experience will not become your experience. My experience will become a borrowed learning to you when I explain it to you. So, only existential or experiential learning is absolute. Dr. Giselle has already mentioned about example of marriage. Once marriage happens, a new person has emerged. A bachelor has transformed to a married page has fallen and the new has emerged. And can you go back? No. Even if you divorce, you are a divorcee. You are not an unmarried individual. So similar to that, any skill or any experience transforms a person. Let us assume you commenced a business, you became an entrepreneur. Then that entrepreneurship has transformed you. That practice of entrepreneurship has made you a new person. And there is no going back now. So any experience makes someone a new person and there is no going back. That is why we say absolute levels of learning at the higher level is only experiential. So I want to just mention that point. See, you would have seen in a movie where Shah Rukh Khan, I don't remember the name of the movie, Shah Rukh Khan's boss, he rents Shah Rukh Khan to express love to boss girlfriend, not Shah Rukh Khan's girlfriend, because boss don't have time. So he assigns Shah Rukh Khan to go and hand over the flower to express all in the cordial way. But in the film, finally, what happens? The girl marries Shah Rukh Khan. So this is the interesting part of experience. So you cannot ask someone else to do the experience for you. It will be a failure. And mind you, one more thing. See, we can learn from others' experience. Okay, that is we call it as extension of corrective action of another person becomes a preventive action for you. You identified that someone has did a mistake and he faced that problem. Okay, that was his experience. So he took a corrective action so that failure doesn't happen again or that error doesn't happen again. And we can learn from that. So extension of his corrective action becomes our preventive action so that we don't go through the same problem. Okay, this happens in quality in the field of Six Sigma and quality. So preventive action. So, but still we don't own the problem. In life, without experience, one can do work. But the love and like the part of learning and the work part of learning is very much important. Others' experience may not change us because it is a borrowed experience, not owned by ourselves. And this is the speciality of experiential learning. So we may hear news something like, okay, my friend had corona. So what? It is not my learning. So what? It's not my learning. So it is his learning. He has gone through the pain. He has gone through suffering. So in order to own it, we have to do the particular experience. We have to go through the experience. We have to practice it. Then only transformation happens to me. That is the beauty of experience. This point, you please don't forget in your life till the end of your life. Practice only I can do that. Only for Dr. Giselle can do that. For you, you have to do it. Your teacher cannot practice for you. So once you understand something cognitively in the level of knowledge, you don't become a new person. Newness, the renewal stages only happens with practice. So with that, let me go to the next slide. We are going to focus now on the next level of learning called as learning, unlearning, and relearning. The experiential and behavioral perspective. We just gave an introduction about the experiential perspective. So, well, a different perspective of existential learning, it's termed as behavioral learning. What is that? See, Dr. Ivan Pavlov, he formulated a learning theory or therapy when he was doing research about gastric juices formed in stomach. I'm sorry, some work is going outside to my house in the road. So there may be some disturbances in sound. So please listen, be more attentive. So we don't have other choice, in fact. Yeah, close that also. Close that also. So Pavlov did something very interesting That is mind-boggling, in fact. Okay. So what he did was, see, he identified a dog, he rang a bell, and he served food for several times. Okay. So after serving food for several times, what he did was, he stopped serving food. No food was served. And after some time, again he rang the bell where no food was served, but dog started salivating. So this happened in an animal. He doesn't have thought process or thinking capacity. He's learning. It is being called as conditioning. So from this, he inferred that all behaviors are learned from own experience or exposure, whether good or bad, desirable or undesirable. We human beings are also like this. We have been conditioned in similar ways to our childhood to this particular point of time. So we are learning from our experience, whether it is adaptive or maladaptive or neat or tidy. So like how that particular scientist conditioned the dog, we are also getting conditioned in many ways. So learning is all behaviors are learned, including the neurotic behaviors up to borderline personality. Please understand. All behaviors are learned. This is the applications in clinical psychology. All behaviors are learned, and there is also a possibility to unlearn the behavior at the experiential level. So if you have learned to smoke, if you have learned to drink alcohol, so application side is here. You can unlearn it also. What are the challenges? What are the process? We are going to explain that. So next one is why unlearning is so important. See, after feeding the dog, after ringing the bell, he used to feed the dog, and after some time, after ringing the bell, he didn't feed the dog. Only bell was rung and no food was served for 2 times. Then, mind you, now dog stopped salivation. So unlearning is not so difficult. Earlier, dog was served food for several times and a behavior was learned. And after that, only bell rang, no food was served for few times. Please understand, note that. And dog stopped salivation. So any behaviors can be unlearned. This is or extincted or stopped, but maybe gradually. So there are many techniques for that, like changing the environment, better cognition, and other required resources are. But what happens? A person commences smoking or a person commences drinking alcohol, and that behavior may be unlearned, but there is a big challenge over here that we are going to discuss. Okay, so now what challenge is, again after some time, this professor did another experiment. Okay, again he rang the bell. Once or twice he served the food. Suddenly, dog started salivating. So earlier, several times food was given, and after that, he stopped giving food. Then dog also stopped salivating, and finally, again he gave food for once or twice. Again, dog started salivating. Now, the problem with the behavioral modification or change in the behavior is spontaneous recovery of the learned behavior. This is the most important point that we have to. My cousin would have stopped drinking, but spontaneously that behavior comes back. This is the biggest challenge to unlearn. So the freezing stage has not happened. A learned behavior come back very fast. For example, smoking or drinking. Now, hope I'm taking you to the level of behavioral learning. Okay, that is existential, and we are discussing now about behavioral modification and change in behavior that becomes one part of the renewal stages of learning. This is a renewal stage. We again take birth. We born again, right? So we are renewing ourselves. So these are the renewal stages of learning. Now, what are the challenges? You may tell, I get to wake up early in the morning because the alarm didn't work, or there was no current, so I didn't work. A person who consumes alcohol, he may tell, today was my daughter's birthday, so I could, in order to enjoy the happiness I drank today, or I again, or I met with my old few friends again I started drinking. Or today, relative passed away in order to so there are a number of generalizations or rather defense mechanisms or rather to justify some behavior by some reason. Either the bell has not rung or there was no power today or so we always tell a lot of generations. That is second challenge to unlearn a behavior. The third challenge is, okay, now we need to discriminate. We need to take a decision. The great solution is anyone is capable of discriminating between good and bad. I will tell you an example. See, whenever you drive a car, whenever you see that particular red signal, why do you stop? You know that it is danger. So it is the power to discriminate and take a choice that helps an individual to change. Please understand, this is very important. So you have to take discriminative, powerful decisions today to take in order if you want to change or renew yourself from if you are getting 60% mark and if you want to get 90% mark, or if you want to excel. If you continue doing in the same old way, you will not get the same. You have to change in your experience or behavior to renew. So that is very important, that a decision that we individuals we have to take. Well, so let's take smoking, drinking, or upskilling. Whichever it is, the change in behavior has to be taken by a discriminative decision that you take, where you discriminate between good and bad. There are few more behavioral learning perspectives. I may not be able to go in detail about that. I'll just touch upon, you please refer about it. Our gentleman Skinner, again, he talked about the positive actions to be promoted and negative actions to be punished in change in behavior or experience. So he had something called a Skinner box, where a pigeon was put into the box. Okay, it had two levers. One lever, when pigeon touches one lever, food will come, and pigeon started repeating it. That is, the positive actions are promoted, and negative actions are punished. When he touch a particular point, there will be a mild electric shock. Then pigeon stopped doing the particular job. This is what being practiced in our jails. When a person do something, we applaud. When they don't do something, we punish. So this is another behavioral techniques at the experiential level. And Albert Bandura also talked about in his social learning theory that change in behavior comes from three elements. I cannot explain to you. I can only give you an input. If you prefer, you can go and search Google, find it out and learn. There are three elements. There is an external stimulus, and that external stimulus also provides an external reinforcement to do that. For example, food is an external stimulus for you to eat so that you will live healthy. Okay, and most importantly, there is a cognitive mediational process where you decide which food to eat, which is junk food, which is good food, and other interlocking variables. So there is a behavior that is happening from you with respect to an external stimulus and an external reinforcement. So there are three interacting systems, and our Dr. Bandura talks about reciprocal determinism to explain about these three: behavior, cognitive process, and environmental factors. Perhaps Stephen R. Covey in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People put it in a different way. Between stimulus and response, the stimulus, you have the freedom to choose. Stimulus is an external variable, and there is a response that you have, that you choose in the now, in the present moment, with awareness, not reactive but rather proactive. And environmental conditions or determinism is there, but the awareness, the mindfulness is what empowers your choice, where you are behaving or your response is not as per your conditioning, but from your absolute awareness. You consciously respond to it. You are not reacting to it. Well, so we'll go to the next level. Change in behavior at the change in behavior or unlearning, learning, and relearning happens as per social modeling by means of 5 ways. There are different ways. One is live modeling. Once you see that your father is doing something good, he's modeling, and you will continue following him. So this is one area how to relearn, unlearn and relearn. And symbolic modeling, videotaped pictures. If you see a videotaped person doing something, there is a tendency within you, why don't I do it? So there is a man called as Nick Wake without 2 hands and 2 legs. He's living a very happy life. So once you see that video, symbolic modeling, you learn there is a cognitive mediational process, thought process happening within you. Okay, that why don't I also do it? I have a lot of limits, but within the limits, I can do my best. Then comes role playing, again imitating the modeled behaviors. You imitate the modeled behavior. Then participant modeling. Well, you will be involved in stressful situations and you will go through the experience in which stress will be reduced. How it is. See, your teachers may be providing you a lot of training on how to face interviews. So they will be giving interviews, real-time interviews, so that you will involve in that interview process and you will go through the process where you will reduce your stress. And covert modeling, this is using by your imagination. So you just check about it, and this is the way, as per Albert Bandura, or using social learning theory, you can renew your learning, you can unlearn and relearn. Then comes moving towards higher absolute levels of learning. See, if I or you want to, move towards excellence or absolute levels of learning, we need to inculcate a quality of purity in our thoughts or attitude. Okay, the first one, as we discussed earlier, the give and take need to transcend towards the give and contribute. So give and take is a mutually expected situation. Well, I give, I expect. If I don't expect as my expectation, if I don't get as my expectation, my emotion changes. If I get more, I'm very happy. If I don't get, I'm sad. So my emotion is not rooted and connected in the now, where I move to psychological reality, either the past or future. So I move away from the existential reality. Now, this purity of thought or attitude, the give and take, has transcended beyond and move to give and contribute. The scarcity has to transcend towards abundance and full. When the emptiness transcends towards fullness, okay, what will happen? You pour some water in a particular pot. When it becomes full, it overflows. It slowly flows out and start giving. And moreover, the attachments to prove I am has to vanish. Proving I am. See, if someone don't respect me, I'm very sad. So what? If someone don't respect you, so what? So there is a tendency for you to prove yourself again and again and again. That is what an attachment for acceptance. That when that stops, you transcend to beyond the external bondages. Something like money, love, acceptance, where the autonomy part within you slowly flourishes up, and the on becoming starts flowing out. On becoming a person, you unfold, you come out. So the core idea that I'm going to tell you is, once you reach at the level of 45 or 50 or maybe 55 or 60, the give and take transactional levels has to transcend to give and contribute. And only that will provide you, help you towards higher levels. See, initial stage, we all talk about my ideas, my perspective, I need more. So that is first stage of growth towards the absolute levels. Then we transcend to or grow towards my groups, my nations, or my religion. So it is we. But the next level of transcending ourselves is the one. We are all one. We are transcendental. All ideas and experience converges into one reality. See, the first is the basic level. Second, the we is the graduated level. And the third one, the oneness, is the transcendental. We consider everyone. I see you. in me. The moment I see you in me, we are one. I see China in me. I see America in me. Okay, X religion see other religion in me. So then this will reduce conflicts, and only this will become absolute levels of learning, absolute levels of experience. So now what happens here? See, there are three. We consist of information energy. Basically, we are at the quantum level. We are information and energy. Well, when I perspective is there, it is my own perspective. The receptivity is limited. Others' perspective we won't accept. Others' information, others' energy level. Our energy level is divided because we, divide everything into good and bad. There is inner turbulence, ugly. There is judgment comes, morality comes. Okay, so the next level is we, where the receptivity is more, where the group's perspective is included, expanded. The information is expanded, but again limited. Energy is again expanded, but divided. Or a group of people in one religion will be grouping together, and our perspective, the information is expanded, but energy is divided, but limited to that particular group of people. The oneness is transcendental, inclusive, and sustainable. See, whenever I say sustainable, it is again we are transcending the race also. Because we all tell that, okay, I can kill anything if I am eating. If I can kill a chicken or I can kill a goat, and if I am ready to consume it. But it is not sustainable. Killing is evil. And we are giving a cognitive mediational process. We are cognitively justifying that if it is to eat, I can kill. This is what Social Bandura told in one perspective. So where it is not sustainable. So we are killing all other species. Now, see, we had plenty of water free. We had plenty of air free, air, water, and we had everything for sustenance of the person. We need sun. We do have sunlight that is absolutely free. So sunlight, air, and water is absolutely free. Our true nature is fullness. So if you don't drink water for 17 days or 16 days, you may pass away. If you don't have air for more than 3 minutes, you will pass away. You will die. If you don't have oxygen for the next 3 minutes, you will die. See, if you don't have sunlight for a particular time period, you are no more. So you have it all abundance. Now, a time has reached in human civilization where, we need to purchase water, paying money. We need to purchase air also. There are several countries where they are even manufacturing pure air, and you have to pay a price for that. So I don't know when a time will come where sunlight would be artificially produced. Why? Because we have devastated the environment. So sustainability is also a module of inclusion, where we also include other species and nature along with us, where it is non-dual and it becomes one. So if we don't have this particular thought process, at least at the quantum level, and if we don't accept these realities, there are limitations for learning, for perceiving. So the biggest challenge is what we have observed is a learning curve. What is a learning curve? So you would have seen, so look at the first paragraph. Okay, the learning is at its peak. Psychology says they have identified that the learning is at its peak between 11 to 12 and 11 to 12. And again, it goes almost stable in a stable way between 14 and 17, 18 to 29 years of age, and 30 to 44. But after 44, what happens? The learning comes down. Between 45 and 59, it comes down. After 60, again it comes down. See what happens? This is the research that is did by psychologists across the world. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, then looking down. See, look at that. So there is a problem cognitively. What happens is, after a particular period, people are not able to learn. So if we need to learn after 45, if we need to learn, we need to have self-awareness. We need to have just to demonstrate excellence, contribute, and serve. When emptiness transforms to fullness, a self unfolds, a just to understand and include the whole, a just to merge with the I, through we, to the whole, a strong thirst to reach excellence and to serve. If we don't have that, what will happen? If we do have that, this will be the result. So we will unlearn and we will start relearning at a particular time, and we will march ahead towards excellence. So please understand, be conscious about it first, be aware about that, and this is the process of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And in order to relearn, you have to forget something that you already learned, because there is something called interference. If there is overlearning, you form a particular, you reach a particular stage of stagnation. If you start keep on learning and learning, and you are not forgetting, and you are not, if you are not ready to change with respect to new context and new information, you cannot learn anything new because you are fixated. That stage is psychologists call it as fixation. So there may be n number of people sitting across you. Okay, they may be telling their own ideas. After listening to all their ideas, you will tell my idea is right. So the narcissism, the obsession, compulsion, everything slowly start developing. So we are going to discuss about flow of optimal experiences in learning. See, if you want to engage in the learning process, we have to be aware of 4 levels. I'm going to conclude it because we only have 8 minutes more. So there you have a physical environment to learn. Your food, your physiological needs, and so on. You have a physical environment. Let us say parents are providing you that. Government is also providing you that. They are also providing free food during lunch session in government schools. The sensation your parents and government is providing. Then you have an emotion to learn, whether you're happy, sad, you have fear, or your anger. So there are basically 4 types of emotions. So if you're happy to learn, then what limits you to learn? We have to look within, what are the thoughts within us that prevents your action to learn. So you have a sensation called as food, physiological need. Then you have an emotion. Then what are your thoughts that you have to think for yourself that prevents or helps you to learn? Please understand that. Now, optimal levels of learning is whenever you learn, okay, you love learning, you're involved in learning, you're committed, you own the learning process, you have enthusiasm, you're charged, and you enjoy, you're fully engaged in learning, where the life energy is flowing through you. This is where there is a congruence between your sensation, emotion, thoughts, and action. You have to ask within, what limits me to learn? Whenever I sit in front of learning, what happens? Whenever I thought of getting into doing something, what limits me? So, and you have to find out answers. Perhaps you can get the support of your professor or teacher or a psychologist. I'm talking about adult learners or a counselor. To go deep within and come out. Now, this is the basic elements of optimal experience of learning, where you need to take care of your sensation, emotion, and there is an interaction between emotion and thoughts that happens in the now, in the present moment. You need to be aware of that and work on your thoughts as well as emotions for a action or behavior that is absolute in nature. Now, if that happens, there are a few options in front of you. Okay. So first, before showing this, I'll show you this. The flow of optimal experiences in learning happens. This is a model. So there are challenges ahead of you, what to learn. Okay, you have your own competence or some total of knowledge, information, and competence with you. You know about it, and you have a challenge. Okay, let us assume that you are in A1. Let us assume that you are A1. And when the challenges becomes more, you move to A3, where you become more anxious. Okay. So you have very high level of IQ. You're totally thrilled to learn. You have a very high level of internal motivation or inspiration to learn. Okay. Then what will happen? But the subject to learn is very less. It is something very less. Then you get into boredom, or called as A2. Move to A2. Okay. Then you need to be aware of this process. What is happening within you? When you are more anxious, okay, when challenges are more. When challenges are not there, but your skill is very high, you move towards A2. And then you need to be aware. then you have to switch into F4. Okay, now further to explain it, this is the particular representative diagram of that, where the first level A1. Okay, this is first level A1. So it has been divided into 9 different levels. You have apathy, you have worry, you are anxious when challenges are high. Okay, when the abilities are high, you are relaxed. When your abilities otherwise, you are depressed or you are boredom. The flow becomes you are focused and happy on the top right hand side. When flow is at a particular time where the challenges are high as well as your skills are high, where you are competing to yourself. You are competing to oneself, not with others. Where the challenges are high, please understand, and the abilities are also high. Where you are getting into peak performance levels, you start enjoy your experience. This is the era. This is the particular time where you reach as per this this learning curve graph, where you are not comparing yourself with X or Y or Z. You are comparing with yourself, renewing yourself, like you reach a stage of mastery where your unique self is coming out to the fullest. Unique self is coming out to the fullest, and this is the highest level of transformational learning, and it's called as flow of experiences in learning. So with this, I think it is time to wind up now. Only 4 minutes now. With this, I'm stopping. I once again thank Parul University, Dr. Ajay Trivedi, Dean, then CA Shreya Sharma, Shreya Gupta, professor who moderated the whole session, and Dr. Giselle George, who we worked together to develop this module. I thank all. Above all, I thank all listeners, all learners, who gave us an opportunity to serve all of you, because without learners, we don't exist. So we should definitely thank all learners for giving an opportunity. And I do believe, starting from transactional levels of learning, we have taken to absolute levels of learning, towards behavioral learning, experiential learning, and excellent flow of experiences in learning to the highest level, where we also discussed about the learning curve, how to move ahead, transcend learning curve, transcend the limitations of learning curve at the age of 44, 45, and move towards the higher levels of learning, just with awareness, and mindfulness. So I hope we have covered almost all areas of mindful learning, and I'm ready to discuss with you and answer your questions. Thank you, CA Shreya Gupta, and connect me to the questions now. Connect us to the questions now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So before just giving my vote of thanks, I would like to pass on and get some questions answered from you. So we have a question from a student. Now he says that according to you, like we have different levels of learning. So he says, which level of learning requires the most efforts from our side, or maybe he means to ask that which level of learning is the most important in any person's life.
Okay. See, toughest period is first answer to your question. First answer is experiential learning is more tough because you go through the real-time pain. Okay. Second, in the learning curve, you reach a stage of inflicting point. It is called as inflicting point, where you grow to a particular level. Then you see this learning curve. You grow to a particular level and you feel that I have achieved everything, and that moment you go down. That level is called as inflicting level. And at that level, whatever you do, nothing will work out. So that level, you may even think that, okay, what I need to do? Do I need to commit suicide? Because everything was going as per my plans. I was learning. I was like a creator. I was like a god. And at a particular point of time, everything starts falling down. And whatever I do, whatever you do, may not help you or help us. At that particular point of time, it's called as inflicting point in the learning curve. At that particular point of time, you will lose all hope. and some miracle will happen in your life because you will learn to unlearn yourself. That is the toughest point in life. And the answer to your question is cognitive learning is rather easy because you don't go through the transformation process. Experiential learning is tough because the whole five senses are going through the transformation process. That is more tougher. And the much tougher part is the inflecting point in your learning curve that happens in your life at a particular period of your life. That is the toughest point where you will find it very difficult. And may God bless all of you at that particular point of time. Everyone is there to support you, take care of you. All your gods, all your parents, friends, all are there to take care of you and support you.
Right. So,
yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. You answered it correctly. But what I mean to ask is that is it sure that an inflicting point will be reached by all of us? Like, is it sure to happen? And then, if it happens, how you think one can overcome that phase? Of course, you said that some miracle will happen. We'll have to unlearn ourselves and relearn. But what a person can do to come out of it positively?
Okay. So the inflicting happens in the inflicting point. The inflicting point is quite a natural course because it happens to everyone. It's also part of conditioning and the process of evolution, basically. So when I or you start achieving and growing and earning, or you reach a particular point where you got everything, and you feel that you're always right and you're always correct. But the context or the situation, the information, everything is changing. Maybe industries are changing, disruption happening. What was a reality yesterday is not a reality today. With respect to that, we are not able to change. And a certain level of experience is required for us to be humble. First point, to understand others, to open up our own mind, to be receptive. So that is also required. It's a process of spiritual growth also, evolution also, where at that particular point, either you yourself will help you or some miracle will happen. But at that point, be aware that don't many suicides are happening now. Don't commit suicide. Don't lose your hope. Try again. Submit and surrender whoever you believe in, whoever you pray, whoever the God you believe in, and go through the process of unlearning. And there is a point in which you'll start again shooting up. No doubt about it. So that happens usually that happens in a gentleman's or lady's time. I mean, cycle between 37 or 35 to 50 or 55. Between that time, this happens, and almost during that particular point of time, people may be exposed to a real-time problems. He may lose a job, or there may be n number of other problems that he may face. So I don't want to name people or experiences or compare it, because it's all. So that point, wait, be receptive, and be ready for change, depending on the external situational variables.
True. So quickly, one more question from Aryan Singh. He's asking, what is the reason of low learning capacity at the age of 59 to 60 or maybe above?
See, psychologically speaking, your cognitive functions will slowly start diminishing. That is one point. Your memory will start diminishing. Your cognitive functions your recall capabilities, everything will start diminishing. But once you become aware, there is a solution for everything. The mindfulness and your meditative practices that you can use, you can apply to re-energize your faculties has got a lot of tremendous potential. So that is why the word mindfulness do have a lot of importance. That is one point. Second point is that the need of an individual will slowly start diminishing, because at the age of 55, their children would have started earning. Then they will bring the money in, and he or she also would have made some money, and they may have some balance. So the necessity to learn further, the inspiration process, the third level we call it as third level of inspiration. There are three levels. First level is called as motivation. The second level is third level of inspiration. Is there only then people will be consciously, they will choose to learn. You may watch one of my videos, it is there in my YouTube channel, about the third level of inspiration. So that if you are able to unlearn your comfort zone and get out of the comfort zone, and if you are ready to learn again, it's a conscious choices. That is where the awareness and mindfulness part comes into being, or plays its own role. So,
Right. Yeah,
so
thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions. So now I would like to propose my vote of thanks. It seems to be a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar a very resounding success. I would like to thank our distinguished speakers, Dr. Asisi Menachari and Dr. Giselle George, for making an excellent presentation and making this webinar a very meaningful and interesting one. I'd also like to thank our Dean, Dr. Ajay Trivedi, for his guidance and moral support. I'm happy to express a vote of thanks to our viewers for their support and motivation. So, see you all soon with a yet another exciting webinar. Till then, take care and have a nice day. Thank you so much,
thank
sir
you.
and ma'am.
Thank you so much. Bye. Stop sharing.
ചെയ്തോ അപ്പൊ അതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ കാണാനും ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞതിൻ്റെ ഒപ്പം പിടിച്ചത്